What's up guys, it's me Jeremy, and welcome to part 2 of skins that buff your champion in Season 5. I missed quite a few skins in the first part, but definitely check out part 1 if you missed it since I explained the concepts a little bit more in depth in that video. And before you get skeptical and say that it's impossible for a skin to buff your champion, note that the buff that you get from these skins is quite small and only has a marginal impact on the gameplay. But I do think that the impact is definitely still there, and I'll go over why for each skin, so please approach this video with an open mind. Anyways, we have a ton of skins to get through, which I've categorized into, this time, 7 different groups, based on the specific way that they buff your champion, hopefully to make them a little bit easier to understand. Let's get started. The first group is skins that have particles that are harder to see, usually due to making the particles a lot dimmer or changing the shape of the projectile, and thus making their skill shots reasonably harder to dodge since the particles are harder to see and react to. The skins that do this are as follows. Ravenborn LeBlanc, whose W and E animations are much dimmer and harder to see. Master Arcanist Ziggs, whose Q and E animations are a lot more transparent and can be harder to see as well. And Guardian of the Sands Xerath, who has an extremely dim animation on his W. The next group of skins are those that have overly distracting particles. These skins make their skill shots harder to dodge because the particle effects can throw off your opponents. The skins that do this are as follows. Star Guardian Lux, who has distracting particles on both her Q and her E. Warring Kingdoms Katarina, where the beginning of her recall animation is extremely similar to the animation of her Q, and so can be fairly confusing for your opponents. And Final Boss Veigar, who has a distracting animation on his Q. The next group is skins that change the animations of their skill shots to be much thinner or generally smaller. Since these skins of course don't change the hitbox of the ability, having the animation be smaller can cause your opponents to underestimate how much room they need to dodge, thus making the skill shot harder to dodge. The skins that do this are as follows. Santa Gragas, who has a much smaller barrel size, making it harder to predict the explosion radius of his Q. Underworld Twisted Fate, whose Q animation is not only much thinner, but also dimmer and harder to see. And a shout out goes to Yuna for providing his skin for the video clip. High Noon Twisted Fate, who has a much thinner Q animation. Bandit Sivir, who has a much dimmer W and auto attack animation. Elderwood Bard, who has a thinner Q animation. Winter Wonder Lulu, who also has a thinner Q animation. Lion Dance Kog'Maw, who has a smaller indicator on his ultimate. SKT Zed, who has a thinner Q animation. And Broloff, who also has a thinner Q animation. If you're enjoying the video, just a reminder to help me out by tapping that like button. The next group of skins improve the auto attack animations of the champion to be much smoother, and thus tend to be a lot easier to CS with compared to other skins of the champion. The skins that do this are as follows. Etherwing Kayle, who has a much smoother auto attack animation. Gangster Twitch, who has a smoother auto attack animation based on the reloading of his crossbow. Tyrant Swain, who has a much smoother auto attack. Black Frost Anivia, who, you guessed it, has a smoother auto attack animation. DJ Sona, who has a very smooth auto attack animation that is super hard to cancel. And Muay Thai Lee Sin, who has a much smoother auto attack animation. And the fifth group of skins that buff your champion give you a better indicator of some part of the champion's kit, and thus are easier to understand, or more difficult for your opponents to understand, what is going on with, and often are easier to use as a whole. The skins that do this are as follows. Mecha Kha'Zix, who has a much clearer indicator for when a target is isolated. Soul Stealer Vladimir, who has an ultimate indicator that is much harder to see and thus harder for the opponents to notice. And Zombie Brand, who has an animation for when he is running up to an opponent, which the normal Brand skins do not have. He also has a smoother auto attack animation and a dimmer W effect. A shout out to Daltorian for providing his awesome skin for the video. The sixth group of skins are those that give some kind of audio cue that is beneficial to you as a player. The audio could be a better indicator or distracting for your opponents, but either way is a positive benefit to you, and I'll play the audio effect for each skin. The skins that do this are as follows. Pool Party Rek'Sai, who plays some music when an enemy is seen in the fog of war while she is burrowed, making it easier to notice them. She also has a thinner cue animation too. And Eternum Nocturne, who has much louder and very distracting sounds on his Q, E, and ultimate. And the seventh group of skins have some form of gameplay interaction due to a hidden Easter egg in the game. The skins that do this are as follows. All of the skins that have sunglasses, which reduce the damage they take from Leona's passive by 1. This would be all of the Commando skins, Surfer Singed, Classic and Aristocrat Vayne, Vandal Twitch, Vandal Gragas, Safari and Officer Caitlyn, Dragon Fist Lee Sin, Corporate Mundo, Hired Gun Graves, and Riot Graves. And Surfer Singed, who gets 1 extra movement speed from the passive from an allied Nami's ultimate. And that covers part 2 of all the skins that I found buff your champion. Hopefully I didn't miss too many, and if the list changes dramatically or if I missed a lot of champions, I'll be sure to make a part 3 of this video in the future, as well as I should have a skins that nerf your champion video coming up eventually as well. And that just about wraps it up. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to tap that like button to help support me, as well as you can subscribe for some more awesome content in the future. And definitely check out some of my other videos on the screen too. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.